Thanks for tuning in to Unbreakable with Chris Chamasiros. I talk about politics, sports, and entertainment to keep you well rounded. What's going on around the world? If you don't like hearing the truth, definitely don't tune into this channel. So let's get started today. This is part 3 of Gavin Newsom telling his disturbing lies on the Shawn show. So let's jump right in.
Stuff's going on. I mean, and it sucks because you want to take people for their word, and time again, we're seeing that word broken, and it's made me rethink how I choose my leaders. And not saying that I'm choosing you to be my leader by
you just said, but you said you despised me earlier.
I am extremely frustrated.
Don't worry, Gavin. I despise you.
With what's going on. And so let's move on. The other hot topic is Iran. I mean, what do you think about that?
Well,
we bombed Iran.
I had Leon Panetta.
I love how Shawn is keeping it all business. So the worm, the weasel, the spineless communist, he can't just, slither his way out of it like he always does, filibust, tell jokes. He tells lies so smoothly.
On my podcast last week. And it was interesting to have former CIA director, obviously Leon, Secretary of Defense and Chief of Staff, with all of his hats that he wore. And, they were gaming out this exact mission back when he was in charge. And it was executed flawlessly. Goddamn heroes. Unbelievable. It was a masterclass. You're the expert here, man, but I was proud of how flawless they executed on that. How many years they were working on it. And how seemingly effective, obliterated or not, whatever. A lot of bloviation from Trump, but it seems to have delayed the program, certainly not ended it. So it's now.
This Lola, he just can't give President Trump credit when credit is due. For President Trump to send the military or special forces over to Iran and no leaks came out at all, and to be as effective as President Trump was, and then he sits there and mocks President Trump as California burns to the ground and people are literally pooping in the street. Yeah, okay, Gavin.
Not going to require the hard work of diplomacy.
Well, see, what's interesting to me, and this word maybe, it's my understanding that not one of our 18 intelligence agencies said that there was enriched uranium there. Now, I'm not a friend of Iran. I know Iran uses terrorist groups as proxies, but I thought it was interesting that now one of our 18 intelligence agencies said that Iran had enriched uranium at those facilities. And then Israel, Assad comes along and says, oh no, it's in there. And just like that,
they've been saying it for most of my life. I mean, I can't remember when Bibi wasn't saying it. We're just a month away. We're just a year away. I think I was 40 at the time. Now I'm almost on Social Security. So I get the cynicism there. I mean, Tulsi was testifying a few weeks prior.
Yep.
So that's a legit question, man. That's a legit question. And that absolutely, it's a legitimate point of critique as it relates to what may or may not have occurred. The fact that they did make the decision, the fact that regardless, it's delayed the program, makes me sleep better at night if we do the hard work of diplomacy. Because we didn't solve for anything. We didn't end anything. And I really worry more broadly with the aftermath of what's happened in Gaza and the devastation of Gaza. I pray there'll be Abraham 2. I pray Saudi deal, Israel. I pray that
Yeah, Gavin's all about praying in the Bible now. He's really trying to warm up to every single audience for the next election. Yeah, I'm into the Bible. I'm pro-gun. I'm pro-border. I'm pro-America. Okay, Gavin, sure you are.
we can begin to negotiate for peace. I appreciated the president immediately pivoting to wanting to negotiate after the successful bombing. And I think that's critical now. So this success will be defined moving forward, regardless of the legitimacy of your observation and what has been reported from the intelligence communities publicly.
How do you think the stuff between Israel and Gaza ends?
Bibi's just enough. Come on. All these poor children. Enough. When's enough enough?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, F Hamas. I flew out there one of the first flights in, had to get to Cyprus, could barely get out of Israel, flew in to meet with Bibi, met with the president just weeks after October 7th.
Why would any president in any other country listen to this piece of garbage? They must sit back in other countries and look at California and see the news, read the newspaper, and think to themselves, what a piece of garbage Gavin Newsom is. I would, if I was a president of another country and this lowlife came to visit me, I wouldn't even take his call, let him in my house, nothing. He'd be standing there with a suitcase in his hand and waiting for a taxi.
Sent a field hospital. Deep reverence for the state of Israel and Israeli people. My family married a lot of Jewish family. We can get into my history, and so there's a why there. I feel always connected.
Oh, here we go. According to Gavin, he's got Jewish people in his family, Puerto Rican, black. He'll hit the whole spectrum, just like Joe Biden, right? Joe Biden grew up in the black church. Joe Biden grew up in a Puerto Rican neighborhood. Joe Biden was Greek and made gyros. It never ends.
To that country, I was proud to go out there and support country. I mean, it's a terrorist attack, Hamas.
Mm-hmm.
But Jesus, I mean, look at these children, starving.
This is the new Gavin with the curse words and the F Hamas. Everything is, every single thing he does, he thinks it's a photo op.
You know, and enough. I know we're in the final stages, and as we talk, they're negotiating these 10 hostages, and we're looking for temporary peace deal. But it breaks my heart, man. And again, this is someone that reveres the state of Israel and has its back. I'm not, Bibi, I remember meeting him in the bunker right after, man. And it's so interesting now to hear what he said, not in the moment, but with everything that happened after. It doesn't surprise me that his mindset, understandably, but enough.
Yeah, I mean, the last numbers I saw, 40,000 people dead.
Come on, man.
That's a lot of.
And these are 40,000 families.
Yeah.
That are going to have.
Well, here's my response to that. Well, Hamas, before they decided to attack, slaughter, sexually assault innocent Israelis, women, children, men, they had an economy, they had a place to stay, they had shelter, they had water, and they decided to mess that up. And now they got to be taught a lesson, and they should be taught a lesson. So they'll know have that type of behavior ever again. That's what real leadership does. Real leadership doesn't let a bunch of criminals, rapists, illegals take over an entire state and wreak havoc on its citizens, Gavin. I know that's hard for you.
Point of view is they grow and get their lives back about what the hell what happened. And that's 40,000 opportunities going forward.
Yep.
Where we may not feel so safe in that cafe when we're traveling. And so I applaud President Trump on the Abraham Accords. I think there's a pathway. I think the Biden administration was moving down that pathway with Saudi Arabia, which is a big goddamn deal. And the opportunity now with Syria and everything that's happened there, conditions have radically changed, and how they have significantly, I think they've just exposed Iran. It's not a paper tiger in terms of their proxies, but in terms of their own sort of domestic military capacity, certainly from a defense perspective. You have this extraordinary moment that could transform the history of this country, our country, and the world, certainly the Middle East. And I pray that cooler heads prevail, and that they can temper some of the appetite of Bibi, particularly of some members of his coalition in particular, that are rabid on this topic, to, I think, get a pathway, that need to get a pathway to peace, and do it so immediately.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's move into your life story. You ready?
Yeah, I prefer Middle East politics to my life story.
We can come back to it. Where'd you grow up?
I was San Francisco, man. I know people are booing. Don't hate.
Like, why can't you? He just knows he can't keep lying forever. So why would you be so uncomfortable answering that question?
San Fran, 5th generation. My dad used to joke, his great-grandfather, he said he didn't know what came first, the Irish cop or San Francisco. So it's been about 150 years from the Irish cop to a politician.
Yeah, I'm sure he's real proud how he turned out, Gavin, a communist low-life dirtbag.
And so I grew up there, had pretty significant learning disabilities, so I struggled in school. Couldn't read or write, severe dyslexia. That's why I don't read speeches. Never seen me read a speech.
Yeah, I read that. You can't even, you do not read a teleprompter.
The only thing I can do is a teleprompter, and it's difficult beyond words.
You know what? I'm not surprised at all that he can't read, because he obviously doesn't read the Constitution. Because if he did, he wouldn't let what's going on in California happen. But hey, no surprise there. He's low IQ. Oh, shocker. But he runs California.
But I certainly, sure as hell, can't look down and read a speech. Never been able to, which is a little bit of a disability in politics. I imagine I could have picked another profession. It's been a gift, and we can get to that later. But as a consequence, I moved to Marin County for better schools. My mom, single mom, came from nothing. She died, left about a $5,000 estate, no bullshit, which was amazing, because with all the care at the end, she died of cancer. It was amazing that she didn't have more debt. And it just puts in perspective, there's a sort of perception of me, some rich kid, somehow born to privilege. But she was a teenage, she was 19 when she.
Well, Gavin, that perception of you is caused by you and your party, because you and your party call anybody who's white privileged. So blame yourself, Gavin.
Was pregnant with me. 2 kids, divorced a few years later. She's just like hustled, man. She worked for Aid to Adoption of Special Kids, the DeBalt family. So when it comes to issues around physical and intellectual disabilities, it's been my cause, man. Special Olympics, back to SARS Shriver. And the Shriver, I mean, and just the issues around intellectual disabilities and best buddies and people, being bullied. I like bullies.
Mm-hmm.
Goes to why I have strong opinions about Trump, man. Just is. It's like
He doesn't like bullies, but he lets the criminals in California bully all the hardworking citizens. I know, Gavin. Keep going.
triggers me. All of us have that. I don't like people talking down to people, past people. I don't like people exploiting weakness. And so my mom taught me that. And she was a tough son of a bitch. And she just.
He doesn't like people exploiting weakness, as the cartels human traffic and sexually assault minors left and right on his behalf, and they all hide in California. And the other day, a pot farm was raided where they found adults who were convicted of sexual assault working with minors, because Gavin Newsom allowed the business to stay open because that pot farm was giving him money for his campaign. And then he calls his mom a tough son of a bitch. The new Gavin. I'm going to curse my head off now. That means I'm tough. I curse now. Okay, Gavin.
Taught me hard work, man. I mean, there was no, I was doing paper routes, working for Jeff Hicks Construction, was doing janitorial work down in the Tenderloin in San Francisco. I mean, that was my summer jobs through college, just grinding. Was going to go to community college. I mean, I got 960 or something on my damn SAT. My mom said, don't even take it again. It's okay. I was panicked. Just like that guy. I remember 5th grade, Mr. Morris's class, I start reading, they make everyone read a little part of a book, and you've seen the clock, you're like, fuck. You're like, please, let's class end. And you're like counting the desks, and you're like, and I remember getting up, people laugh, swear to God, I'll never forget people laughing. Couldn't even read the guy.
Like he thinks he has to tell this come up sob story because this is the only thing that resonates in the Democratic Party. It's like Alexandria Cortez claiming she grew up in the Bronx. Meanwhile, she grew up in a rich part of Yonkers or Westchester. Jamal Bauman pretends to be this big New Yorker. Meanwhile, he graduated high school from Saraville, New Jersey. All of these communist low-life Democrats want you to think they had some type of struggle, right? Yeah.
Goddamn words.
Damn.
And those are the scars of your life, man. I identify you. And so my mom struggled with that. My sister's smart. She's going to fancy school. She goes to Georgetown. She's getting 13. I don't remember that. It doesn't even matter. It was easy for her. And so for her, I have so much empathy. I never had kids. She died years and years, 18 years ago. So she never got to meet my kids. And I never got to say thank you. Because as a parent, I've got a couple kids that have been struggling. And it's so hard on the parents. I never even thought about that.
Well, you caused it, Gavin. You caused your own kids to struggle because you shut down everything while you and your friends went out and had dinner, $1,000 bowls of spaghetti during COVID. You caused your kids to fall behind.
I never thought about my mom, man. And all the sacrifices, all the shit she went through. She worked 2-3 jobs her whole fucking life. I mean, that's how I got in the restaurant business. She was a waitress and doing bookkeeping and part-time real estate, and I was the busboy, and that's how I kind of got introduced to the business. And then she ended up working for me near the end of her life when I started growing my businesses from one little store with one part-time employee, and built that to 20 plus businesses across California. And so that was my mom. My dad was
Well, that explains why he wants all these illegals in California, so he can get the cheap labor with his 20 businesses. Makes sense now.
he kind of panicked. He tried to get into politics, lost, went into debt, tried to do it again, lost the relationship with my mom, and then just moved out of San Francisco and went up to Lake Tahoe area. And he had a little breakdown.
How old were you when he left?
Just a few years old.
You remember him?
Yeah. I mean, I remember him for, summers. I remember him sometimes on the weekend. I remember when I started getting good at baseball and basketball. That was where we reconnected. And it's the only reason I got into 4-year college baseball. And was a pretty good basketball player, better baseball player, and got recruited to Santa Clara. And you kind of snuck in there. It was a nothing scholarship. Wasn't even about that. It was the ticket to a 4-year college. But those high school years, man, my dad started to show up. It's proud. It's like the son's.
You were proud?
He was proud. And
He was
like,
proud.
Yeah, and sort of connected and that. And I was like, hey, Dad, So he kind of started coming back in our lives a lot more.
How did your mom handle him leaving? I mean,
It was tough. They neither ever got remarried. They both, every time they came close, they sabotaged each other.
Did they talk well of each other or
Yeah,
of each other?
yeah. There was no abuse. There was no issues. No affairs. It was my dad just struggling with his own identity, and he eventually he was a lawyer, then became a judge. He was on the Superior Court, California, then the Court of Appeals. Incredibly bright, objectively so. I mean, that was his sort of legendary status. He was at Stanford. He was doing a little English work there, as a professor for a brief period of time, or was teaching there, and then became a judge and wrote these beautiful opinions. And his entire inheritance, he passed. He made it just through my election day as governor, which is a hell of a thing. No wheelchair.
Wow.
Survived just to see his son become governor, man. And which is just fucking, in hindsight, I'm like,
Oh, another F-bomb by Gavin. That's like 3 at this point. The new Gavin. Next, he's going to come pulling up on a Harley for the next interview with a 6-shooter on his side, cowboy hat on, and Bible in his other hand.
good as that, man.
Let's roll it back a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, did you feel any resentment or when your dad leaves at that young of an age?
Yeah. I think everybody goes through these journeys differently, and there's so many people that have the same experience. I never, I didn't know any other pathway, right? So I didn't experience something and lose something because I was so young.
That's a good point.
So I didn't sort of connect with that other caregiver, the other person being home or around. I just connected with my mom, and that sort of, and that was like a jarring thing, man. Like, I'm the only son. I'm struggling, but I'm like the guy, the boy, just like, so man, she just, she sacrificed everything for me, man. Like, gave up everything, any ambition, anything else.
How did you receive him coming back into the picture?
His gift, man. He's my hero. I mean, he was the Bobby Kennedy, he was the judge, the politics, he had all these interesting relationships, including with the Getty family, his closest relationships, which opened a lot of doors for me and created a lot of opportunities I wouldn't have otherwise have. And so he was adventure. The summers he was a rabid outdoorsman. Like, man, we were all over the world. We would go, it was one summer trip, and it was just always a fucking adventure, and river trips primarily. And we, up there in Manitoba, Winnipeg, and We're out there, beluga whales in Hudson Bay. I'm like, this is amazing. We're doing blue whales down in Baja, or gray whales in Baja. We would be out doing these river trips on the Middle Fork of the Salmon, American, and Rogue River up in Oregon. And he was just that guy. So I'm connected to adventure. And then he was passionate about politics, but it was public service. It wasn't partisan. It was like, man, again, it was the feelings around the 60s.
Stuff that you know nothing about, serving your people of your community, because it's all about you as you destroy the community. That in Los Angeles, you destroy the community because you allow crime, criminals, illegals, gang members to take over because you'll do anything to keep votes in power as American citizens who follow the law and get up and go to work every day, who are getting taxed to death, suffer from the crimes and the consequences of all your garbage.
Like it was a noble calling. Um, and so you combine the hard work and ethic of my goddamn mom. Don't complain, don't explain. You have agency, you're not a fucking victim. You got to deal with shit. And that
Another F-bomb by Gavin.
idealism of my dad. What a gift.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, he's just so perfect. Let me tell you something, Gavin. If you think the way that you behave and act and your policies and the way California looks is a blessing because of your wonderful parents, maybe you need to like reanalyze, sit down and rethink everything because your politics are absolutely disgusting, just like your state.
I mean, did you ever ask your dad why he left?
Yeah, he said he
those
had
tough
he said,
discussions?
he says he literally had a breakdown. I mean, we were talking earlier. He did some interesting stuff. I mean, I'm getting in different territory here. He told me he did some LSD experiments at Stanford University. He said he primarily did it because they paid a lot. He was just always, he was on a journey, man. I think you don't think about that with your parents. My mom's dad, the prisoner of war in Corregidor. He ultimately took his life. Talk about PTS, talk about veterans. Don't even get me started either, man.
Oh, yeah.
My mom struggled with that.
Sure.
He put a gun to their head, to my mom and his sister.
He cares about veterans in the military as the military gets sent all over the world to care for everybody else's border as an invasion happens in America. But he's for the military. Make sure you join up for that.
After he came back. That's how up he was. He was a beautiful man, but not when he drank. And so my mom struggled with that, was very lonely, isolated. My dad clearly was struggling more with his mental health than I expected. Not in an acute way, but in a way that I'm starting to more appreciate. He said, I had a damn breakdown. I couldn't face you guys. I couldn't own up to being a good father, and I wasn't going to be a good husband. And so I said I had to leave. And he just said I broke down.
Wow.
And but he was a beautiful man, and as I say, his inheritance was his idealism and the sense of adventure and limitlessness, obligation. He was, I think community, opportunity, responsibility. He was the responsibility guy. Like, you have an obligation, brother. You got to give back. That's your job. And he was charitable and he was cause-oriented.
Gavin, what have you gave back to the hardworking citizens of California? The middle class, hardworking citizens of California. What have you given back? A studio apartment that cost $3,000, taxes through the roof, fires that you couldn't put out because you refused to refill the water reserves, and then you blame President Trump. And then you went and you bought up all the property in those houses for half the price. Is that what you gave back, Gavin?
Oriented, justice, Justice Newsom. And so I thought he was a beautiful man in my mind, but terrible, not the best father, and certainly not a good husband.
I mean, what kind of LSD experiments?
I'm just learning about him, brother. I'm learning more and more about this. I'm trying to find out more from
He's a total effing liar. He wants to, in case there's hippies out there, he wants their votes. He wants the veterans' votes. It's all he's lying through his teeth. That's what he's doing.
family members. I'm like,
Some MK Ultra shit.
yeah, this is like predates all this stuff that's now everybody's starting to understand how powerful and potent and profoundly important this space is.
Mm-hmm.
In turn, not just for for vets next level. I mean, look, I'm talking to the expert here. I'm going to mind my words, but more broadly, man, this mental health crisis was the right question you asked me about COVID. Goddamn right, man. Social isolation. We're more lonely than ever, more isolated, more distrustful. Community's been frayed. That did not help COVID. Quite the contrary, accelerated. They were pre-existing trends. I mean, you had the former Surgeon General in Obama that made the point that the number one disease in America is loneliness, even before the pandemic. And then,
Oh, the big elephant in the room. Is anybody going to ask him? COVID was unleashed on the American public to rig the 2020 election with ballot harvesting.
was accelerated, and we haven't figured that one out, man. And that's where I want my leadership to speak to those better angels, man, and not divide, take down, separate anymore. And that's my gripe. I don't want to get back into politics, but that's my gripe about what's going on in 1600 Pennsylvania right now. We need to knit things back together, man. And this guy's uniquely capable of doing it because he has no political moorings. It's not ideological, Trump. So his ability to pivot, shapeshift, what a gift if he would just damn exercise it.
I mean, do you feel like the last administration was divisive?
I think, we got ideological,
For this piece of garbage to sit there and be like, won't admit that he doesn't think that the Biden administration was divisive. Okay, sure. I guess all those radical judges who get on the House floor when Ted Cruz asked them questions. I saw that you wrote a paper and you said that all white babies that are born come out of their mother's womb evil. No, that's not divisive, right, Gavin? And of course, the Biden appointee radicals said, I didn't write that paper. And it's proven that they wrote the paper because they signed the paper. It was printed at the colleges that they wrote the paper at. But what else would you expect from Democrats?
failed at the border. And by the way, I say that as a guy who put 394 National Guard down at the border.
I saw that. I didn't
years and years ago. I didn't react to that. I invested over $1 billion, 1.1, almost $1.3 billion into migrant centers in 3 counties, Imperial, San Diego, and Riverside counties along the border in order to put a lid on it. It's why you didn't see.
What you should do, Gavin, is put them all on a plane back to where they came from and let President Trump build the biggest wall that you've ever seen down in California. But all you do is fight him on it. But now you're against illegal immigration, right, Gavin? Come, keep going, Gavin. Keep going.
On the nightly news, I know you weren't watching as much as others, but there was a lot of the flooding of the news was primarily around Texas. But we were able to kind of keep a lid on it a little bit in California. And trust me, my friends on the right would have exploited the hell out of California had we seen that flood. And we were trying to manage it. And I was trying to manage the politics, trying to have the back of the president, but very, very critical, saying, you guys wake up, the hell is going on down here? I mean, the fact that here's a progressive governor putting hundreds of military at the border and consistently funding that in fighting in every budget.
California has like the second or third most amount of illegals in the country. You're doing a great job, Gavin. Keep it up.
Keep that going. Revere those guys in the National Guard, by the way. Rock stars.
You know, I read that you put 398, you just said, National Guard troops down there on the border, but I did do some research and I found that California is the #1 state with illegal immigration and Texas is right there behind you.
Yeah,
exactly.
In terms of people crossing the border. I mean, it's the largest border crossing in the Western Hemisphere. So you'd expect that. I mean,
Well, Gavin, obviously you're not doing a good job of stopping it though, right? Would that ever cross your mind? Of course it wouldn't. Free labor, you want the votes, you're a piece of garbage.
by very nature of it, largest in the Western Hemisphere. And obviously two-way trade there. I mean, it's a whole region, that whole entire economic region's connected, Tijuana and San Diego region. And it's
Okay, who gives a shit? You're not supposed to be on American soil, Gavin. It's pretty simple. But only Gavin can make it difficult because he's a lying piece of garbage.
a very vibrant cross-border relationship, which is another issue that respectfully, we should talk more about the economic side of border policy. But undoubtedly,
Here, I'll talk about the border policy. There shouldn't be one illegal in America, and I don't care where you're from, Europe, South America, Africa, wherever you're from, you should be deported immediately, and you should be banned from coming back because you broke the law. It's as simple as that.
it's a very porous border beyond sort of that San Diego sector where the wall has substantially been built, but hardly the ultimate deterrent. It's a deterrent, but people, even with double border, they have a legendary status. I was in tunnels with the Guard not too long ago, and Border Patrol went into the tunnels, and we're discovering tunnels all the goddamn time, which are just next level tunnels that the cartels are running. And by the way, that's two-way. That's folks sending guns, arms down, and cash down south, not just the drugs coming in north. But no, I've just never been that guy. I remember there was some Democratic primary and everybody a bunch of folks raised their hand. Would you get rid of the border? I'm like, what the hell's what are they talking about? Nations need borders.
Oh yeah, Gavin. What do they talk? Why would they ask me that? I only have the highest amount of illegals in my state and I don't do anything to stop it. How dare you ask me that? Right, Gavin? Do the pointing. Curse a couple more times. Come on, deflect some more.
Question is, what's the most effective approach? I thought 1,954 miles of a wall. I thought Trump was a little.
You know what's the most effective approach? Is what President Trump's doing right now. That's the most effective approach. And what are you in California doing? You're fighting them every step of the way.
A little bit, come on, man. He only, by the way, did 85 new.
He's doing the Joe. Come on, man. Come on, man. He's doing the Joe Biden.
Miles in his 4 years. Little bloviation there about how much he actually accomplished. He'll say 458 because they retrofitted existing fence. Fine. But it was hardly a triumph on that. But I believe in border security. And
sure you
I
do,
believe
Gavin.
in the work these guys are doing every single day and the lives they've saved. Our counter-narcotics efforts, our task forces have been next level, not only with National Guard and Border Patrol, but also with our California Highway Patrol that are part of these larger.
The cartels operate marijuana farms in California, illegal marijuana farms, and he knows all about it. And he does absolutely nothing.
Efforts throughout the state. Look, I'm a state with 39% of people that are Latino. I'm a state where 27% of people are foreign born. I represent a majority minority state. We're the largest agricultural state. When people say, well, he needs.
And why is that, Gavin? Because you let a bunch of illegals and foreigners break the law, move into California. Now you have the highest property taxes in the country, highest gas prices in the country, $25 billion a year on Medicaid. And the average working man in California who pays his taxes and follows the law can barely survive.
To understand the heartland. Really? Really? Telling me that governor of California has more hunting jobs, more forestry jobs, and more agriculture and ranching jobs than anyone else in the country? Not even close. California. I'm also mindful of the contributions of immigrants. Silicon Valley?
They're not immigrants, Gavin. Immigrants come into the country legally. They're illegal aliens, and it's defined by law, something that you don't know anything about, obviously, because you can't read.
Over half the unicorn companies in this country are in my state, 57%, and half of those are literally owned by immigrants. 42% of our startups in California, immigrants from Silicon Valley.
They're not immigrants, Gavin. I know it's hard.
To Central Valley, immigration, hospitality business I'm in, construction workers. Come on, man. Going after these people at Home Depots.
Come on, man. Hey, Gavin, if they're illegal, you could pick them up anywhere. Home Depot, the church, the mall, it doesn't matter. Pulled over for a parking ticket, you can get deported. It's real complicated for Gavin. He doesn't quite understand. If you're in the country illegally, you could be deported. What happens if an American citizen goes to Mexico illegally and gets caught? Automatically 10 years in prison. But that's not harsh. That's not racist. It's only racist when America wants to secure our border.
Taking kids or taking parents from kids that don't have criminal records. That's where I draw the line. And so California has got more to lose than anyone else in this. And we've been the beneficiary of immigrants. I'm with you on criminals. 11,000 11,000 plus we've turned over to ICE since I've been governor. 11,000. We work with ICE. I work with ICE with our sanctuary policy. We work with ICE as it relates to the release of dangerous and violent criminals. 11,000 that we have notified and worked with ICE.
11,000. There's 2 million illegals in California. That means there's 2 million criminals in California that need to be caught. But this is very difficult for Gavin to accept because he needs voters
to transfer and deport.
You know, I'm a little more on the middle on this than most people think. I got painted out to be like a MAGA troll or something because of a lot of the people that I've interviewed, including Trump himself. And while I do lean conservative, I am not that far right. And so I think there's a happy medium here, and I'm glad you brought up the economic repercussions of this because yes, you know, I mean, I'm constructing. You know, we talked to breakfast. I'm constructing a new studio that's been delayed. You know, a lot of, I mean, you know, restaurants are hurting, construction's hurting, a lot of farming's hurting. Like we use those people that they fill those jobs. It is what it is. They fill the jobs. Now, I think the border has been a complete fucking disaster.
Agree with you.
And
totally agree.
You know, but and so, I mean, how would you like to see this goes? I'll hold my
look, man, you've been here.
I'm going to end it with that because I'm only going to do 20 to 20 minutes until the 4 hours of this dirtbag is over. I want to point out all his lies, all of his hypocrisy, because that's what Gavin Newsom is. He's a liar. He says that California is #1 in the nation at job creation. Meanwhile, it's Florida. The economy in Florida and job creation in Florida is #1 in the entire country, not California. But what else would you expect from Gavin Newsom? So I'm going to leave it at that. With that being said, thanks for tuning in to Unbreakable with Chris Chamasiros.